Hello there, my email friends, and I was just exploring around looking for some email inspiration, and I always check out my friends over at emaillove.com. They're great. They have some awesome curated email designs that they take note of, and I'm looking for inspiration. I see this email, right? And it got me thinking that I do get a lot of comments on my videos about, hey, where's the text in this email? I don't want to build an entirely image-based email, which I'm just going to say this is all image-based pretty much. I think maybe this piece here with the shop and learn might be text-based, but for the most part, everything except for their footer right here, yeah, this is all an image. But I think we can achieve a very similar look. It's not going to be as clean because it's not going to be an image that we can fully manipulate and get it exactly how we want. But I'm going to walk you through how to create a similar template, similar vibe directly in Klaviyo. I'm not going to use Figma. We might use Canva just to kind of manipulate the background image. But besides that, we are just going to go and just use our email builder, okay? So first things first, we are going to wireframe this design in Klaviyo. So it's not going to be 100% exact, but I just want to start getting the vibes together and pulling the pieces in just so I can start seeing my building blocks. So let's jump over into Klaviyo. All right, I have a completely raw, fresh section here. I'm just going to format this piece. First things first we have is our little banner section, which is going to be nice and easy. So with this, I'm going to pull in a section. We'll see. I might consolidate this so that we're just dealing with columns, but for now I want to manipulate all of the lines that are happening around this. I think it might be better to do that with a section. We shall see, but we'll mess with it. And then I'm sure, as you know, when it comes to your actual text, even if you want to do a custom font, you're going to be extremely limited in that department. So we are just going to stick with good old Helvetica as our text. Okay, I believe it said save 15% off with code. You know what? We're going to say SparkBridge, which if you didn't know is the name of my email agency. So we're just going to say, hey, save 15% off with code SparkBridge. Let's go ahead and grab this shade of green. So if you don't have this extension, it's called Color Pick Eyedropper on Google Chrome. And we're just going to grab that. I think it's called, yeah, Color Pick Eyedropper. And we're going to set the background color here, actually, the block color to that. And we're going to change our text here to white. Lovely. And we'll mess with a few of the other pieces here. I mean, technically we could kind of maybe bold that because I think that's what they did as well. Let's add a little bit of padding here. Let's see. So now we're getting into the shop and learn. You know, we kind of have this with Klaviyo's kind of built in, but we're going to manipulate this a bit more. Let's see. Do I want to stick with this one? I mean, it'll be kind of the closest we can get, so maybe we will. I'm going to make this larger, though. Okay, we have shop and learn. I'm going to want to change these. Let's see. We might have to go with just Helvetica as well. Let's see if we can, let's lower some of the padding here so that we can kind of go all the way to the sides. And it's going to be shop and learn. Okay, shop, learn, great. Now going into this section as well, we have a border happening. Let's go to our styles. See if we can instead apply a border across the whole thing. Do that to black. Let's remove this one, remove that one. Okay, so we have our border going around the entire email, which is what we want. Then let's do a horizontal rule right here. Okay, so we have our top section, we have our logo section here. Now we're getting into another horizontal rule. So I'm gonna try to grab onto this one, clone, and we're gonna put it right under there. Make that black. Actually, let's make it 2 for that one. There we go. So now that section's kind of blocked off. Probably add in a little bit of some padding below just to give it a little bit of breathing room. Okay, lovely. Shop, learn, great. Now we're getting into some big old text. And again, we're going to be pretty limited here, but we're going to make do. So I'm going to throw in our text block here. Let's go ahead and make this center. We'll come in with Helvetica. And let's see, what text do we feed them? So we'll say, feed them SparkBridge. And I know it's Helvetica. It's just not as fun as a nice fancy font. And then we have a little text down there. take 15% off your first order. This is definitely going to be a lot smaller. Let's do maybe 20. And then I think this was actually kind of like anything less is less. Let me change out my dash to an actual dash. Lovely. And remove that extra is. Anything less is less. Okay, lovely. The only thing I kind of want to do is break this apart. So what I'm going to do is make this just a tiny bit smaller. Let's see what we can get away with. And then we'll make this one. Right. Perfect. Sounds good. That works. And then take 15% off your first order with code SparkBridge. Bold. Lovely. Now, one thing I'm going to go ahead and do in here is place in a giant spacer block. So even more gianter than that. We're going to throw in a nice blank space here, because what we're going to end up doing is actually adding in our image here to really fill up the space. But in order to do that in Klaviyo, you actually have to pop in a nice spacer to make it all kind of stretch out. So we're going to put in our button as well. Let's not forget our glorious button. And again, using our color dropper tool, I want to grab this color here. And let's grab that. We're going to remove our corner radius. We're going to expand that out a good bit. Again, let's go with Helvetica, black, smaller, a bit more kind of petite looking, maybe kind of space out the lettering. And we have a nice arrow here. I can get away with an arrow inside of this one, but I'm just going to go with just the shop now. That'll be perfectly fine. All right, and then we have our bottom section. We're not going to worry too much about this. We're kind of just worried about this main part here. So for our background section, I'm going to kind of eyeball it a bit. So we need to zoom in on a nice kind of aesthetic picture here. All right, so we're over in Canva. We're going to come in and kind of build, let's start with almost like a little bit of like a long rectangle here. So we'll do 600 by 700. So it's a little bit of length to it. Let's go ahead and head into Unsplash and just see if we can find some good product photos that might work for us. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe we could do makeup. Ooh, this could be kind of cool if we like zoom in really close here. I kind of dropped it in kind of like perfectly in the background, but we want to change that because we are going to kind of really zoom in here. So you know what I need to do is just kind of separate this from the background, but it's fine. You know what? Yes, we will do that. Let's separate it from the background first. Okay, so I have it just in here, and we're just going to come in and zoom in so it's a bit easier here. And honestly, let's go in even further. Like, we really were zoomed in here. Okay, but we definitely need the top of our palette. So potentially maybe even a bit like that. That might work. So the one thing I am noticing is that our color in the background is not going to be the white we want, which I could cut this out of the background, but I think in this case, I'm just going to grab the color and then adjust that in our email. So back over here, I'm just going to change this to be a little bit darker, and this one as well. So it kind of looks very seamless going down. Okay, so let's go ahead and download our image. Let's see if we can make this work. Sometimes I'm gonna have to manipulate this a bit and make it a bit smaller, so we shall see. Okay, so here in our image, I'm gonna come over into our background here and drop this in. See what that gets us. That is actually not terrible at all. Okay, let's see. Let's mess with some of the configurations here. Aha, this is what I want. Okay, so let's lower this. 500. Oh, that's almost perfect. Okay, we're gonna go like this, maybe a little bit more. Okay, this could work. This could work. I'm gonna do a bit of a spacer there to put in a bit more space in between. And then also, let's tighten this up. Oh no, it's not really gonna work. Okay, we'll keep it like that. So that way it's nice and clean. Okay, shop now button. Okay, I like it. I like it. Now let's look at the actual kind of footer is cut off at the bottom, so it's completely separate. Okay, so we're going to do something similar to that. Let's go ahead and drop in a fresh section here. We're going to move our logo and our pieces right down here. And then let's see, I mean, we mostly have kind of like our sign off here, which we'll leave that. I won't go through making this whole thing here, but just for a little bit of kind of some flavor, let's come in. We will keep text only. And then we had kind of our unsubscribe section, organization name, full name, and then we had like a logo and everything. Okay. When I moved that, it did mess with our spacing though. So we need to make this larger again. Let's push it down. Doot. There we go. Okay. Now let's give this a view on mobile, because that's very important. Okay, we can't abandon our mobile view. Okay, so this is kind of a weird thing that's happening with Klaviyo lately. It's really driving me bananas. But the text block is not clipped like this when you actually get it in your inbox, but it's just kind of clipping it right now. So ignore that. Let's see. What can we do here on mobile? I'm tempted. I'm oh so tempted to do a mobile view and a desktop view just to get this 100% the way we want it to be. Because if I go over into preview, let's see what our current allotment. Oh my God, guys, we have so much sizing in our email to work with that we can get away with a mobile view. So I'm going to clone this, selecting this one. We're going to say that this right here, yep, same visibility. That's desktop only. This one here is mobile only. So we have our desktop section and mobile. This is where we are really gonna slim down this right here, or maybe even larger, but I need to mess with the image potentially. Okay, let's go back in here. There we go. And let's space this out maybe a bit more. So, what we could even do is edit this so that our background one is specific to mobile, which is definitely a potential to go with. So let's clone that, duplicate, and let's see, how could we have this maybe kind of, honestly, just needs to be smaller, like overall, like the palette just needs to be kind of smaller, even though we were doing kind of this static background piece. I think it's gonna make sense just to make it all smaller. I'm gonna upload this one in. It's a little bit different, a little bit kind of repositioned. I mean, that might be the way to go. That's not too bad. We can still see everything. It's a little bit different than desktop, but it gets the job done. Yeah, I think I might go with that. I mean, it's zoomed in enough. It gives that effect. But if you were doing this for your own brand, you could really manipulate this into two ways and see how it fits together. Now let's click preview and just take a look again. So we have our text, our lead-in, our shop now button, a big ol' asset at the bottom, which we could even get more zoomed in. Honestly, because it is such a blank space, we really could pull this down and it could really flow into it. But then we get into our text, maybe not. But yeah, this is, I mean, pretty darn close. Like doing it just within Klaviyo itself. And with us doing a mobile only version like this is where we can come over here and mess with some of this sizing. So I'll bring all this down to like 35, maybe even 25. Bring this down to like 17. That way mobile looks a lot cleaner and slicker. I might even mess with it a little bit more, but that is pretty darn close. We have our bottom section. Guys, this is as close as you're gonna get. This is us doing a real quick one just so we can get as close as we can to a nice zoomed in effect. Now, I would say maybe the asset we picked could be a little bit different, actually showcasing a similar product. But I think you get what I mean. Doing that really zoomed in piece, put in that spacer, it stretches that piece out, and then having your text live in that negative space above. And you're pretty much ready to go. I mean, as close as we can get with just building it with an actual in Klaviyo builder, limiting that we're using Figma, not using, an actual image only email. This is as close as we could get, okay? What do you guys think? Thanks for following along, and I will see y'all in the next video.